social media. I wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to talk about it also in three different phases. Three different phases. How we got exposed to it when we were young.
Okay.
Younger. The beginnings of social media.
Yeah.
The early, like when we were in our mid-20s, and how that next step of social media, and then how we use it now, and how the kids are or the young people are using it now, and then how we think it's gonna go. So
okay,
I want to start with, what was your first exposure to a social media? What was it? What website do you consider social media when you first started?
Oh, I mean, dang, I want to take it a little bit further back. I'm like, how do we define social media? Because if you're asking me, like, what is my first platform that I used social media, I would have to say Instagram.
Okay.
You see?
I see.
So Instagram, I think, yeah. So that would be for me the first social media app I used.
So,
but
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So then, how do you define social media?
Right.
We'll start there.
Yeah. I guess I'll start with the formal apology as a millennial to the younger generation. Sorry, we should have known better. we didn't realize the power we had, and we should not have just let this go so far.
And also,
apologize for your mental health.
For clarification, dictionary is websites and applications that enable users to create and share content or participate in social networking. Right.
And so that's where I'm like,
okay,
social networking is what I originally was exposed to.
Okay. So let's take it back to LiveJournal.
LiveJournal. Yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
It's a great place to start. Before that, I mean, we would social interact in real life.
Yeah, and in chat rooms a lot. I mean, a lot of our interactions with people outside of our community were online in chat rooms.
AOL.
Yahoo Chat, AOL,
But I think that was even a little bit after LiveJournal, though, and those websites, no? Forums?
No, that predates it for me.
Okay.
Me personally, I can think back to the time when, this is like late 90s, when getting people's like AOL Instant Messenger was like, ooh, dang, like I get to talk to you outside of school? Like, what?
Yeah.
And so that was really helpful back in the Pokemon days, because I didn't really know what to do in Pokemon Red. And yeah, so that's like happening. AOL's there, the Yahoo chat room. I mean, AOL chat rooms, Yahoo chat rooms rather.
Okay.
I've been around for a fuck ton, like a long time. I remember when I was like in elementary school, like sneaking in, like in the middle of the night, sneaking onto them with my friends.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is why I wanted to talk to you, because this is fascinating. Okay. Damn, that's young.
I was young, and it stands out, like the username, gallons of rubbing alcohol. and like Yahoo chats circa 1996, if you're out there, dude.
Oh my
What's up? Were you real? Like, I don't know who this person was, and I don't even care, but like I remember my friends and I would be like on late, and they were like in this Yahoo, like that name just sticks out. Like, I don't know how I remember that out of all the people that we interacted with. A super dangerous environment in hindsight.
Well, for the age that you're saying, yeah, of course.
I mean, for everything, it was. Yeah. I mean, right? We were young, very young, and we were. Who knows who we were talking to? It could have been very likely people that were. I wouldn't say at that point in time it was like adults. Like, I mean, obviously adults, but like it would have been unusual for them to be like maybe like college aged individuals of that time, because really, like, you would have to like have that technology, like. I would say like someone's like parents, or like even then, like the parents I think about, like they didn't know much about computers.
So
grandparents, no way.
one thing you mentioned with those specifics, chat rooms, is it was a way for you guys to interact outside of school, outside the normal ways of interacting. So
Right.
that's like the seeds to what social media started as. It was a way for everyone to kind of communicate with each other. This is before phones and text messaging, obviously, or before
Right.
text messaging and the way that we
Yeah.
use the phones now. But
Right. I mean, text messaging was there. It was just, expensive. You
Limited.
had to wait for 7 p.m. nights and weekends
for the line, yeah.
yeah. So it was just easier, and it wasn't instant. Like,
Yeah.
LiveJournal was. I mean, it really was that. It was was just like your online
So
journal space.
So the chat was a way to quickly interact if someone was on, have a chat.
Mhm.
And then the
Right.
live journal was different, right? Because that is you posting a
Right.
blog essentially of whatever you wanted to talk about.
Right, and I don't think we knew that word back then.
Mm-hmm. No, it
Um,
wasn't.
It was it was a way to like carve out an identity online and just kind of have this. It was just a social network, really. It was like you would post, people would, you'd be friends with people.
Mhm.
Exclusivity starts to really show up in that space, and I didn't know it then. I can observe it now, like in hindsight. I believe there were ways to make your live journal private, and
Only certain
that was
people.
like, only
Okay.
certain people, and so that was kind of, you had your public one, and then the private one was like exclusive.
Mm.
We still had a sense of being anonymous, so obviously, unless you like put your name on there, like your image wasn't too, like, you could put a picture of yourself, and it really wasn't problematic because we didn't have means then of like recognizing each other. You couldn't just Google your person's, like, oh, this person's image and like whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like you could still be anonymous. You can be whoever you wanted to be, really. And there were private communities that would pop up, and they had good power. I remember one of them. God, what was the name of it? I'm not going to remember the name of it, but
Mhm.
it was, you would basically, if I remember correctly, you would send in postcards or write in something, and it was like a way to like confess things, and people would like confess secrets. They would show, like, it was really cool. Like, they'd be like maybe a postcard of like an elephant or something really like beautiful, and then someone would put on the back, like, I don't know, I've been in love with my best friend's like partner for years. And it's just like, damn. It's just like a way to get that expression out there. And
Yeah.
so those were.
So those are some interesting tidbits there, because you mentioned social chat, exclusivity, anonymous, kind of like
Yes.
the foundation. Anonymity. I didn't want to say that word.
That's a hard word. Anonymity. Yeah, I can't say it either.
So those are three pillars, I would say, to. We'll talk about it later, but that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, LiveJournal was two. I got the tail end of that. So after, AOL chats and Yahoo chats, I was big on, but not on the LiveJournal. But it's interesting that even from early on, the exclusivity was a big part of it. Adding friends or however you made it private, and then you had a public. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and then if you wanted, like, LiveJournal gets to a point where it's a little too, like, it really does start in kind of a creative space, and then you start to like hear that other people have live journals, and back then it just really felt like your own place to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when LiveJournal gets a little too popular, there's a transition to melodramatic, which is the perfect name, or mellows as we would call them back then.
Just another website like LiveJournal?
Yeah, it's just another very much. It's actually a little different than LiveJournal. I would say it sort of mirrors the Friendster MySpace, what eventually becomes MySpace, and like the Friendster space, where like there is the journal is still kind of the wall sort of concept, is still like the main focus, but your profile is more a little more social. You have the ability to add other people.
Now,
Gosh.
what was the pull for a live journal? Like, why do you think you were so into it, or people around you? Was it the fact that they can just express themselves and then people commented? Like, was the commenting part of why people posted, or was it just because they just wanted to post something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me,
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was a way to express things that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would write like what I thought were very like deep and thoughtful poems and narratives and phrases, and just kind of like, it was like I did not treat it like a journal, like not like a traditional journal, but it was a place that I would kind of put my thoughts and my feelings sort of in a weird way. And it was a way to kind of get that engagement with other people.
So
why did we collectively decide that that's what we wanted to do? It's like, it really, you boil it down as like, why would I care why do I care what my friends are thinking, and why do they care what I'm thinking? I don't know. That's a good question. Like, what was it about that? Like, maybe it was a way for us to feel connected.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a way for us to feel.
Did you feel like you could say a lot of things on there that you normally wouldn't say, or like what was the pull for that?
No, I don't think I ever felt censored or restricted in person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
I think it really just felt like, honestly, it was kind of like an artistic expression more than anything. That's, if I really think back to it, it felt like an artistic expression.
Okay.
It eventually does become what we see today on, more than anything, Facebook, I think, where it becomes a sort of diary of your day. It goes from, but that's the thing about LiveJournal, that it was you could do both. Like, you could have your like LiveJournal that was about your art. Maybe you were a photographer, maybe you wrote, maybe you drew. Or you can have the like one where it was like, oh man, school was tough today, I really didn't enjoy third period, it sucked, not looking forward to the test next week, where it's just kind of this narrative of your days.
So those were the foundations, I think, of you guys, because you guys are the first generation. Like I said, I caught the tail end of it. Maybe in my generation, maybe some people were on it more heavily. Yeah,
teenagers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We were the first people to age into it. And that was, because
that was probably like, I want to say probably like 03.
2001, 2002.
Yeah,
and
the tail end of
2003.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
right.
The big one for me and for everyone was MySpace in that time. And I think MySpace is interesting because it came at a point where individuality, teenagers, I mean, that's what they strive for even now, right? Individuality.
Yeah.
But
it's like they're trying to define themselves in that space. Trying
to find a group. And also, I mean, even when the phones first came out, you had ringtones and your own, you always wanted a personal ringtone, and like we were just looking for a way to differ ourselves. And MySpace really embodied that with music along, because alternative rock and rock back then was a big genre more than it is now. And,
it was there.
And hip hop was coming up too, and you were able to just fully customize your page however you wanted, with any music, with sparkles and HTML. And
a lot of people learned CSS and HTML thanks to MySpace and LiveJournal too. I remember I didn't know how to do that back then. One of my friends did though, and I would go to them. I'd be like, I'm looking for like a background with like this picture and like this kind of border, and like they would produce this code block, and they'd be like, paste it,
and it worked.
And it was just, like you're right, it was all about individuality, like standing out.
Because it brought in the social, you can post, but I don't really remember people posting a lot. I think it was more like, just come to my page and see what I have.
Right.
They updated their music, they updated their top 8.
Right, the top 8, controversial top 8.
Very controversial.
Then you use some CSS elements, hide it, top 4.
And then eventually they just they added the option to randomize it every time you visited the page because it was causing a lot of drama.
Yeah, a lot of drama, right? Which was interesting. Again, back to exclusivity. But it was also a great tool for networking.
Well, for bands, that was the other side. Like a lot of people broke out because of that.
Like having dedicated kind of platforms for the music. Pure Volume was the one we used way back then. We still needed an online presence, and so we didn't have really. I mean, people had web pages, right? But they were still like crude and not really helpful. So having this concept of the band being in the same space as an individual with like your own MySpace page, your own live journal for the band, and having a way to promote yourself in that starts to create the transition, I think, to social media. And that's a keyword right there. Promote yourself. Like it really did go from social networking, which is us forming connections in sort of these online communities with each other. And then we see how we could use this and we can apply it to elements of our life. Bands, I think, were one of the first things that it made sense to, because it still seems
fascinating.
Like even not just bands, but like artists. Let's just say artists.
No, because there was some definitely hip hop artists too that
right. There was and even, many genres.
Dane Cook.
Broke out
because of MySpace.
Yeah, it's like anything in that space you start to notice how that's where people are socializing, and you want to let people know you're doing something. It's very logical. But I think that's where we slip. And we don't pay attention, and we start to transition into the media space, social media, branding. And then now it's just, I think it's a bit of an injustice to call it social media. It is absolute
social networking,
mass marketing.
Well, yeah. Social networking is fascinating. When you said the transition from social media, you recognize that it happened that early, especially in MySpace, to network your band, to network your artist, whatever it may be.
Right.
But that didn't, the full on networking didn't happen until later, but that's fascinating that it started there within the music.
The full on media.
The personal network, like your personal selling of yourself.
Right. I see what you're saying. Like the branding.
The branding of it.
Concept of branding, right. Yeah, that didn't show up until like much later, really, because I mean at those times,
because MySpace went from, I would say, probably like 03 to 08.
A little bit later than 03.
05?
Maybe 05-ish, 04 maybe. But definitely around 08. Yeah, you're right. 08, 09.
08 is when it died.
08.
Yeah, because I remember specifically because I couldn't get onto Facebook until I was in college.
Right.
And then I graduated. Yeah, exclusivity. I graduated 2000. Well, I don't know if it really has to do with exclusivity. I think it was just the way it was made. But 2008, then I graduated. Then the fall of 2008 is when I got on Facebook because I got my college address. And then I think the next year they opened it up to everyone.
Right. Yeah, I remember being on Facebook. You had your EDU email and getting on, and that first iteration, I remember it being very different.
Yeah. So
than
Facebook,
what it is now.
So MySpace was this individualization of your whole page of who you are to Facebook. I'm trying to remember. Like I remember going on Facebook because a lot of my older friends were like, "Hey, you need to try this new thing." It was like a new thing. But I don't really remember why I fully transitioned to Facebook. That sounds weird. To Facebook, like in like what? I think it was most. If I had to think, maybe you can post your statuses, and I think the statuses started mattering more, and like people commenting on it, and it still had the little chat room feature where you can just individually chat with someone.
Yeah, well, I think I don't remember if that was in the beginning. I don't think it was.
Not in the beginning. No. But I just don't remember.
But maybe by the time you were on it.
Oh, okay. That's true. Yeah. I just don't remember there being a lot of individualization, so I don't know why.
No, originally Facebook was very pointed at the kind of college experience. And I think that's why it took off. Like I I straddled that fence. There was basically two different tools for two different purposes. Where like MySpace was the tool where we socialized, where we promoted the band, where we engaged with the audience, and we didn't call it that at the time. This is what we like back then. It was just like, oh yeah, here we are, pictures of the weekend, pictures of the party we just had, pictures of the show we just took. Like anything like that would be on MySpace. Facebook started becoming like okay, well here's like I'm taking Chem 101, and who else is taking Chem 101? What's up? But something that Facebook did, I think pretty early on, that was pretty brilliant, and I think is what really helped them take off, is they sort of became a planning platform for social events. And I don't know how it is now because I haven't used Facebook in many years, but those early days of having the people that you knew in your city kind of connected, like you were networked with them on this page. Like now maybe you did update, maybe you posted pictures. It didn't really matter. But you wanted to throw a pretty baller party on a Friday. You put that event up and you just invited everybody.
Okay.
That was a real quick way to promote that whole event. And yeah, I mean, we joke about it now where people would be like the yes, no, maybes. And then, you knew the maybes were really no's. The yes were really maybes and the no's were hard no's. Like you would sit there and look at your event as the day was coming.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah. The groups, I totally forgot that's the yes and the no's.
Right.
Wow.
And I think that starts to kill MySpace because eventually you start to be like, well, hey, I didn't get invited to that party. Oh, what's your Facebook? Oh, I'm not on it. Well, dude, you gotta get on it. I can't invite you if you're not on it. And then, why don't you I'm on MySpace. I'm like, well, I can't invite you on MySpace. Like, you can't even do that on MySpace. And so I think that starts to transition it. There's also a quality drop. And this is fascinating because it happens to all of the social networks eventually. You have the initial group, people that come in first, and then you have kind of like the mass adoption. But even before that, there's this phase where it like thrives, where it feels balanced because there's a kind of a community with good intent. But it can't survive in that space, especially not with the model that these companies have used. So like pretty much freeware. And then you get the mass, and that's where the quality drops. And that's how MySpace, in my opinion, died. It was nice, it was cool until like every interaction you were having was not genuine. Like you couldn't tell if these were real people anymore. You couldn't tell if they were scammers, bots. They got shady, they got shitty, and it was just like a decline. Which happened to Facebook too.
Yeah. Well, also the decline of the music.
Yeah, music moved off. Where did music move off to?
I mean, it moved to a different platform like what's that independent? I can't think of the name.
Bandcamp,
orange, yeah, Bandcamp, but there was an orange logo.
Oh, SoundCloud.
Yeah, and around 2010 and beyond, SoundCloud rappers and
right. It moves to a different space completely. Yeah. Pandora is around now, but Pandora is still just like majors. Like you can't just put your music on Pandora, so you don't benefit from that.
But Facebook, I think the pool of the college, you wanted to be the groups, and then Instagram comes along and Twitter pretty much kind of at the same time. But I didn't really use Twitter. I used Instagram first, and funny enough, Instagram I used as a photo filter app, not as a social app. So it was like, it was a way for me to edit my photos, and I never even posted them. I would just download them and then cancel or whatever.
Right, and that's the funny thing. Like back in that early stage, like the concept of like posting a picture of your food was like, what? Like who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like we were really using it as a tool to create communities and to kind of network with each other. So it made sense to like put pictures of the party you just threw that you used Facebook to organize and promote. Because that's awesome. Like everybody wants to go back the next day and be like, "Oh man, those are some good pictures." But I remember when I first heard about Twitter, it was like a small article in like a main feature. I don't remember what website, but it was like somebody in some part of the world is stuck in like, I don't even know if it was jail or something. It was like a prison, or they were being detained. They didn't have service or much internet, and they used this like new platform, Twitter, to send out a message because it was very much lightweight, 140 characters. you couldn't have used whatever 2G or whatever was around back then.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And it just didn't make sense. Like, to me, the concept of Twitter didn't make sense. And it honestly never made sense to me. I never got on board. It just seemed confusing. And Instagram, like you said, was originally there was a bit of an exclusive app since it wasn't on Android. It was only on iOS.
It was a way to, filter out the... It eventually did become a social media. I didn't join Twitter till 2012, and it was mostly, which is still the only reason I use Twitter, is sports news.
Right. Yeah. Twitter kind of becomes this weird space. Instagram completely destroys itself and becomes a marketing platform.
Well, to your point, I think Instagram is the closest to. I mean, it rides the line of social media and social networking, because
it kind of
because I think it is I think it is pure, like, in terms of you can definitely market yourself, try to make a living off of it, but there's also, I think that I don't know, that one just seems the most, and I struggle with it because I don't know how I want to use Instagram. It's like, because people just post their best stuff, but it's like you can just post whatever you want. And do you care about the comments? Do you care about the likes? Do you, like, stuff like that? It's I don't know where we're at with Instagram, but when it first started, it was just like post cool pictures edited.
Right.
Like, try to find the coolest picture. And then
and I think that's a really good point. Like, how do you want to use Instagram? Because to me, and this is a little like rigid, but I think of the two when I say social networking and social media. Like, I consider social networking to be something localized. I don't consider, like, what are you using Instagram for? The comments, like the comments themselves are only really meaningful if they're coming from people that I know.
When you first got it, what did you use it for?
Oh, originally when I first used Instagram, it was essentially a photo blog. Okay. Like, it was a place to post pictures that I thought were cool, that I took, because I mean, photography is one of my hobbies. So it was like a really cool.
Gotcha.
To me, it felt like a more accessible DeviantArt, which is a separate service that is more specific to art, and kind of in the space of like social networking and /art.
And so,
Twitter, I just never used. It didn't make sense because I was like, okay, well, I guess really what I'm trying to say in this entire monologue is the benefit to me of community is having an engagement in that community. And originally it was local, and it did eventually grow up to be more distributed, but it still needs to matter. Like, Twitter to me is like yelling into the void. I can't engage with people on Twitter because it's like, I don't know you. I don't really care about you. There's no defined structure. I could be talking about the Cowboys on a thread from the Dallas Cowboys, and then some random person's gonna like jump in and be like, I hate your picture, you're ugly, and I'm like, what?
Well, we'll get to the future of Twitter, but
yeah, okay, burn it to the ground.
But for Instagram, I used it for the same reasons you did. It was like, who can early on, who can make the coolest looking pictures, and I think a lot of people. And then it became a little more social, and there was little games like a calendar. It's like each day had a specific picture, and everyone would post that picture. There was like that 30. There was a big community. It kind of shifted. We'll talk about how it shifted later, but then comes in after that Snapchat, which I never used, and now we're at TikTok. And
which are like, I'm basically not like that. I fall off there because
same.
I remember Snapchat comes out. I'm already probably too old for it at the time. It feels like it's something like the kids are doing, and I'm just kind of like, well, like none of my peers were like, and so it just didn't appeal to me. And then TikTok even further. I'm just like, TikTok just feels like Vine with a different name.
I forgot about Vine. I didn't want to. So Vine somewhere in the Twitter, Instagram was just a video version of being able to And then YouTube, a big YouTube. YouTube. That's another social.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, another social way of video format expressing yourself, but less social, more. I mean, no, same. Yeah, I would put it in that Instagram category, where it's like people who can express themselves through video instead of photos, and Vine as well.
Right. So now here we are.
Here we are. So I use Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. So the three. I watch a lot of YouTube. We have a podcast now, but Instagram, I as far as me posting, so how I use it is I post stories now. I don't really post posts.
Right.
For me, stories is just a way, and I don't know why. I just like it better. I can just kind of post whatever's going on, but it's always positive. It's never like, oh, I'm having a shitty day, or here's something shitty in my life. It's always the highlights of whatever that day is, or that time of the month. And I don't post often. And Twitter, I never post. I always just look at news, regular news, sports news, follow celebrities, and follow. What else? YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube. We're just starting to create this podcast, so I guess we're making content. But that's about it. Snapchat, I tried because a lot of people do use Snapchat, and it's just a messenger app to me. But that's how I use it.
Yeah, that's kind of where it boils down to. I think Messenger.
How do you use it? Or what do you use now?
Yeah, so at this point in time, I'm pretty much, when it comes to social media, Instagram is the only one I use.
Oh, I did forget to mention Facebook. So Facebook to me became, and now is just a way to interact with people you went to high school with, family, posts. I know there's groups. I've joined some groups. Those groups are kind of cool. Marketplace is actually something really cool. You can always find some really good deals on anything. I think Marketplace is very important. But other than that, I really don't post at all on Facebook.
I don't use Facebook anymore. It's been a while now, actually.
Yeah. But Instagram is the main one for you?
Instagram is my main platform. I like you, I don't post any more posts. I haven't made a post since like 2019, I think was the last time I posted. Stories are the ones that kind of I post. In a way, it's kind of interesting because I use Instagram the way I used some of the original platforms like LiveJournal and a very early MySpace, where it was a window into the people that, like, I don't brand myself, so I don't have this like branding concept. I mean, I guess it is a bit of a brand, but not in I don't promote myself
in a monetizable way. Yeah.
Right. So I just engage with the people that I know, like everybody that follows me.
You actually,
I can't say that because my profile is public, but yeah, like anyone that should be following me, I should know. Like there's very few randoms, and they're probably bots. Anybody that I follow is either someone I know in personally, or they're an individual whose branding I'm a fan of, or the main part of it is they're an artist. Instagram for me has become my way of keeping up with the music scene.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I do all of my music management through Instagram. I harvest, that sounds fucked up. I discover artists in Spotify and I connect with them on Instagram. And that is how I maintain awareness into when they're touring, how they're doing. And it's a way for me to support these musicians, mainly musicians. There are a couple tattoo artists, there are a couple physical media artists, and some digital media artists. But it really is, for me, a creative community. I don't really post. If I do, it's something dumb like, cereal. Is it a soup? Yes, it is. Yeah. And I'd like to see people on my feed have an argument about it because it's funny, but yeah.
So do you look at posts or do you look at stories more?
I primarily look at the stories at the top.
Yeah.
And I'll scroll through the kind of wall.
I feel like the posts are more just ad now.
Right.
Like,
there is just a
direct
ton of
ads.
advertisements. Yeah.
Well, no, even just from personal profiles, it just seems.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I look at the stories more. If somebody posts a story that tells me to go look at a post, I usually don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix though, because sometimes I do need to see the post to kind of get the, like, maybe there's a big tour coming and I
Oh
want to
yeah,
see
you
what's
need
up.
the whole thing. Yeah,
Mhm.
I struggle on how I want to use Instagram because I want to kind of use it as my creative outlet and being able to just post whatever I want. But I also recognize that that it is a lot of people on. I mean, not a lot, but I'm saying like it is people that I know, and it's like sometimes it's like, do you want certain people to see certain things? I kind of get too much in my head about it, and maybe I should just post whatever I want.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder why you get too much in your head about it. It's a creative outlet.
Yeah, but I also don't know how create, like, what I want to use it. Like sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna make a whole story, like in terms of like write a story and then put quotes and go take pictures and write out the story in posts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you can do that.
but sometimes I'm like, or I'm like, well, sometimes I just want to make stories about just specific days. And I just get too much in my head about it, and I don't post it. I just end up, and then I'm real into putting music into, because I've always been like that with social media. Caption lyrics, like that's something I've always done. I like capturing lyrics. And this is the part that I struggle with. Just because I caption a specific lyric, doesn't mean I'm talking about someone specifically, or this is how I really, maybe I'm just hyped at that lyric, and it could be a ratchet ass lyric, or it could be, a depressing ass lyric. It doesn't mean I'm depressed. Like,
right.
It can just be, and so I struggle with that, because now that you can put well, no, I know, but I'm saying like, I don't want people to think like, oh, now you're depressed. Like, no, I really like that lyric. I don't know, it resonated at the moment, and I wanted to share it.
Okay. So it sounds like that feedback loop isn't really working for you.
Well, I don't get any feedback. It's more in my head.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was like, because I was going to say, I think you can disable all of that. You can disable comments. You can disable messages. You could just be like, this is me. I'm taking it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't get any feedback. It's all in my head.
Well, then, that's interesting.
But it's because you can cut out those music into 15 seconds or 30-second clips.
Mm-hmm.
And I always, like, in my head, I always thought, man, there should be a social media where the only way you can post is by lyrics. Like, because that's how I've always posted on MySpace, on Facebook.
And then TikTok came around.
No, that's different. So, but it is one of those, like, Instagram, I don't know what it is anymore. And
I want to mention something though, because as you're saying this, you're bringing up something very interesting.
Yeah.
I consume social media on mute.
On mute? What does that mean?
I don't have my sound on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
and what you were talking about, it's like I'm starting to think in like TikTok, like I think the default is on now.
On TikTok?
Yeah, like in the current iteration of social media, like
I don't know. I think the default is mute. Yeah, because I do on mute. Yeah, I don't, unless I have headphones on.
How do you engage with the content that's like a song or singing or like a dance? Like I feel like everything needs audio.
Oh, TikTok is probably not on mute, but even Instagram Instagram Reels. Once you go into the Reels tab, that's not on mute unless you mute it.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, the way I have engaged with the media in the past is just because we didn't have the bandwidth and the technology to put videos. Everything was text based and picture based.
Yeah.
So and we had to use GIFs to create movement.
Yeah.
But now it's so easy to put a video together that the audio becomes relevant, and the audio becomes a big important element of the social media.
Mm-hmm. Well, how much?
And that does.
This is going to get all convoluted on where we're going in social media, but I feel like for me personally, I use social media actually kind of coincides with my life. Like I don't really want to share my life that much anymore.
Yeah.
Even with people who I know, it's like, I don't care. I just want to be able to post whatever I want, do whatever like on there. And I think that's how I'm going to use it. But it's interesting that everything switched over to a more Vine style with the shorts and the reels, and TikTok started it off as a dance, but then moved over into, 1 minute, 30-second or a 30-second to a minute long, clips of just an enormous amount of creativity, hilarious stuff. Like I started to slowly on Instagram and YouTube Shorts get into it. And man, 20 minutes later, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm laughing my ass off on a lot of these little, that's where we're at creatively wise. It's that new. Right. And do you engage in any of those shorts, reels? Have you tried? I'm sure you see them.
I've seen a couple. They're funny.
Yeah.
And there's the one that I really like, the dude that like peeks in the window and he's like making fun of like people cooking like ridiculous shit.
I haven't seen that.
I think I've sent it to you. I think his name is Chris Johnson. He's on tour right now doing a comedy tour, and he's like the old man, and he's always like looking, and he's like, eh.
Oh yeah.
And then it's like it shows someone like about to make like it's like, why are they putting milk in the chicken? Like he's hilarious. I love his stuff.
So it's moving more towards less personal, more entertainment.
Kind of. But in an interesting way, because we can use him as an example.
I mean, that is
his content.
Yeah,
his content is he's a comedian, right? And he is creating comedy. But the content that he is using to create his own content and his own comedy is genuine content that other people are creating. That is, to me, ridiculous in a way. Like there are people, like, I don't know what it's called, but like they'll make these ridiculous food dishes apparently, and it's just it's a waste of food for one.
Yeah,
and it's just a way to like create outrage. And so it's cool that the comedians are looking at it and like making content, but the people doing the outrage content, like, what are you like? Are you like a rage baiter? Or are you just like, I'm just here to like, another trend I saw, the people putting like spaghetti on the table and like meatball sauce on it and like, go on, eat. Like, I'm like, that's disgusting. Like we all know that's not how you're really eating, but you're just creating this outrageous scenario content.
So what would you call that? Because it's no longer a way to interact with your with a community like it used to be, right? I think that's
right.
When we talk about the future of social media, it isn't. Yeah, it isn't a social media. It's an entertainment media.
Yeah, right. It is mass marketing. That's what I call it. That's why I think it's mass marketing, because I think as long as we have an element of monetization tied to it, people are going to try to continue to push the envelope on what is extreme, what is outrageous, because they want
the attention
to be that. Yeah, they want the attention. They need the attention. They need the views. They need the engagement so that they can make the money. And I think that is not sustainable. I don't think that's sustainable. And I don't mean like the process. I think the engagement. I think there's bound to be a shift in perspective. Like, we might find those reels funny now because we're exposed to them new and novel, but there'll be a saturation. Over time, I think people might just be like, okay, well, this is kind of boring.
So I wonder where we're heading if we're going to, like, how are we going to shift back to it being social? I only say that because my son at his school, all they do is Snapchat, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
It's a way, and I don't know yet why. I mean, I would assume that it's a way for them to be able to interact with each other, kind of like how they want a way to interact with each other.
Right. Like those things
outside of school. But even though they have text messaging, but because it disappears in 24 hours, maybe there's a level of
the ephemeral nature of it makes it more appealing. And I mean, I think I don't find that too surprising, because I think the elements of community never went away. Like,
because they grew up with content creators. That's all they consume. They grew up, in this age. That's all. Everything that's been shown to them is marketing. there's
right.
Live streaming, right? So everyone wants to be a streamer. Everyone wants to be. So that they grew up with that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that kind of makes sense because there really is no chat platform that is.
No.
I think Snapchat can continue to like hold that space because I think messaging is very important. Like at the end of the day, it is exhausting to be like face-to-face engagement on a camera or into a phone, into a device, being on the phone. Like the passiveness at which you can text with is very appealing to many. Snapchat, I think, makes sense for that because it does create this like it's kind of like an AOL Instant Messenger.
Yeah,
it's a place where you can kind of have your friends. You can be exclusive, right? You can have
exactly
whom you want to like. You don't have to talk to everybody. Whereas many people might have your number and you can't really do much about that. I think in an app like Snapchat, you can prevent. I don't think people can just randomly message you. I think
well, it's funny. Like a comment that he made was like, in Snapchat, I can just see who's here and add them. Just ask them for their number. No, that's weird.
Right? No, yeah, that's weird. Like
I'm like, it's more weird that you just randomly add that person that you've never talked to. But
I mean, is it?
But then that's how it was for us. Is sometimes
right?
Like, hey, you may know. Oh yeah, I've seen him in school.
Right. Or you're at the record store and you're like, hey, you're here, I'm here. What's up? You want to hang out? I have no way of contacting you. Maybe you should have my number. Like, the phone number does lose its value when you have many ways to connect, and it does feel more personal, like kind of like a phone call. Like if somebody calls me now, I'm like, dude.
Oh, I love phone calls. I love phone calls. My favorite.
Phone calls for me are like, I look at the phone ringing and I'm like, the audacity of these people calling me.
I'm like, text messaging is the worst.
I prefer text messaging.
Yeah, but I don't know where we're gonna go. Social media. So Twitter, I think, will just become or what it is still is just a news base. I think. I mean, Elon says he wants it to be the most trusted way of getting news. I think he'll get there. I mean, because I think that's all people will go there for is just news about anything, like just news,
Yeah, I don't
think it'll ever be a social, like, I mean, I don't even know what you socialize about. It's just a community of news.
Yeah, of information and misinformation.
Yeah. So, and then Instagram or Facebook, I have no idea. I think Facebook's gonna die soon. I mean, it'll be held up by us and then as the older generation.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly by the generation above us,
they're the big
really
ones.
Onto it.
Yeah. But they'll eventually, unfortunately perish away. But then what becomes of that? I don't know. But Instagram, I think, will always still have a strong platform because it's pictures. People want to see pictures. Like I follow a lot of cool photography accounts and a lot of cool little video accounts, and they have adapted the reels. So it's like if you want that kind of content, you can stay on there and watch that kind of content anyway.
Yeah, I think it will become more purpose driven, kind of like you're saying, where we'll have the ability to engage with media and artists in one space. Facebook. I don't know. I don't think Facebook brings anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean the groups is cool. Like I do join some groups that are.
There's that
because you can put like barriers to entry. Like you have to answer certain questions. Neighborhood groups, if you live in a neighborhood, those can be really funny because people get mad.
Right, and that is I think that becomes a matter of convenience at this point because there are better ways to do that aren't Facebook, but it's just so much more convenient to be like
and marketplace. I mean, but all these ways, there's no way to directly monetize those specific things. So that's why I don't know how they stay relevant.
Well, right,
because they don't take
Facebook.
They don't take a piece of your marketplace. Like it's just a post.
No, but they sell your data, like the data that you allow them. And then data brokers, and like the more I think
Apple
that's kind of what
took a big hit on that.
Right, like the more we become aware of that, and the more we push to stop that. And I mean, we're already seeing it. These companies like are like having to lay people off because they have like they literally make no money. They can't just like like.
None
I think
of the
there's been a
social media.
saturation.
Not even YouTube.
No, right? Like we're saturated. Like everybody that wants my data already has it. like what else are they going to learn about me that I'm?
I mean, it's fascinating. Like YouTube, biggest video. Like I think they barely started being profitable.
Yeah,
last year or a couple of years.
Yeah, it makes,
which is wild because the content creators on there make a lot of money.
Right, and that's where it's all advertising, and I think we're going to get tired of it. But
here's why we're not, because the world runs on advertising. Everything ties back to advertising. Everything.
It does. Yeah, it does. It is necessary in a way, but
now it's a matter of
how do I like?
It's a matter of these advertisers not being so keen on being PC or like being like I don't know. I feel like sometimes a lot of these advertisers pull, like if you say bad words on YouTube, they pull their ads, or if there's an outrage on Twitter, they overreact. I'm like, it's Twitter, bro. Like it's not happening in real life. Like,
well, I mean, it is. It can be
very, very, very small, and it's not going to affect your sales. Like,
but it does.
I don't think it does. I think they think it does, but I don't think it actually does. I don't think Twitter is that big enough.
Twitter has the ability to
make a story come out on the regular news,
to create influence, and so like I think Twitter is completely like worthless. I don't think there's any value to Twitter as a platform.
Only for news for me.
And for me, I'm like, I don't like the idea of getting news on Twitter. I'm like, what? To me, that sounds like getting news at the grocery store.
Because there's no other place I can go. Right now, the NFL, we're recording this on the 14th of March. The NFL is going, they just opened up the ability for free agents to talk to other teams and sign deals.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've been watching the past 2 days. Breaking news. You know, different.
Right. So you're talking about the people that are kind of like the boots on the ground.
Exactly.
From like the people that are in those rooms having those conversations and coming out. No, for that.
In Rappaport. I don't think you can replace. I don't know.
No, I think you're right there. Yeah. I don't think. I think that's. Yes, I think you're right. Like I think Twitter does allow you to connect with people specifically in those rooms, right? Yeah. And that's cool, but
it's like real-time news. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be there. No one's going to go and post personal stuff on there, or at least make a community out of that. So where do you think it's going, or how are you going to continue to use social media?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm trying to limit my usage. I think I'm finally good with Instagram in terms of like I use it as a place to discover artists, kind of the way you're describing your usage of Twitter. I use it like that for the music industry, and for people that I follow in the business. I want to know what they're up to when they're playing, if they're coming through town. A lot of restaurants too. I use it to keep in touch with local restaurants, like, you know, you guys are closed, open, things like that. It's a way for me to engage with the things I care about.
And what about posting wise?
Posting wise, I only do it just, in a more humorous event, like to make the joke things. I try to only make it about jokes. Sometimes I see something funny and I want to share it, but I don't really treat it as a way to like engage much. I mean, I do engage with the people I care about.
Do you feel the need to connect now, like you used to?
To connect, not really. Like, I mean, that's a good question. I feel like, I guess I do. I still connect with people, and I'm very genuinely curious about people. Like, I'm at a point where, like, if someone's posting things that I don't agree with, align with, I don't argue anymore. I just stop following them. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, this person's making like controversial topics and very pro like police.
You're gonna isolate yourself though into a silo?
No, I don't think so. Well, because
it can get dangerous.
I don't. It doesn't, because I don't use social media for news.
Got it.
I consume if I want to know what the world's up to, I don't go to Twitter. I don't go to Instagram. Like I go to trusted institutions that provide.
Well, you do research.
Yeah, like I read the news, like, and if I care about it, right? Like sometimes, like I don't really care about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to research it, and I'm not going to engage either.
Right, and someone's going to try to like rage bait me with some shit, and I'm going to be like, you know what? I didn't read up about that, and I don't really care.
Yeah,
but so yeah, that's why I don't think I'm worried about the silo. I want to be in a silo because it's I want to use this specifically for this reason.
Yeah.
I have some ideas on what's going to happen with social networking.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, like I think
as the days go by, I feel less and less inclined to use social media for social reasons. It's more just now entertainment.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense.
I use YouTube the most out of anything, like over Netflix, like over show. Like YouTube is my main source of entertainment.
Right, and that makes sense. It's now, how do you talk to people about this entertainment that you can't? Why not?
I'm a fucking weirdo.
What do you mean?
I just watched a 30-minute video on this was this morning on water under the soil and how that affects buildings and dams. And it's like,
yeah, which is super cool, right? Like you just got this very like. So now, how do you? So let's make a quick comparison to maybe the time before the internet really blew up.
Yeah.
And maybe say it's 1995 and you're going to the store to buy some milk and there's a video store next door.
Mm-hmm.
You go over, the attendant really isn't there, but whatever. You rent a video, super random movie. You watch it, you return it, and you're like, wow, like, has anybody else seen that movie now? How do you talk about it? Who do you talk about it with? Maybe you go to parties and you start bringing it up. Like, how do we? I think that's still necessary. And how do we replicate that?
That's a very good point, because we're going to wrap it up here in the next 5 minutes. What if social media has turned into group chats?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, because we're already living it.
Yeah, because when you ask, my social media is our group chat.
Right.
So anything that, like the scenario you described, I would go in the group chat and be like, yo, boom, 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 boom.
Yes. And that's right. And you have these people that you've engaged with. How do you do that at a greater scale?
I don't know.
And that's where I think where I'm like, staring at my Discord channels and how many of them have unread messages. And that's where I think we're going to go.
Because Discord has the potential, but
I would say Discord is a social network at this point.
Oh, 100% is. I mean, if you see the banned Discords, there's a hierarchy. There's certain rooms you can get into, but it's people of the same community.
Right.
But it's not as mainstream.
Yeah, topic, community-driven.
But Discord is very fascinating because the fact that you can share a screen, watch parties, you can do when we play games, we hang out, we turn the webcams on, we're playing games. It's a way to socialize.
I think that is the future direction. I think we will recognize the old, the generation 1 social media platforms as advertising platforms. Like, we'll accept them as advertising platforms.
They all become okay.
Yeah, and we'll be okay with that. We won't pretend, we won't be duped by that. Like, I will be like, you know what? I'm gonna go look on Instagram to see, what are people thinking about soap? I don't know. I don't personally think Reddit is going to come back. I think Reddit's on the decline because Discord has already started to implement threading and forums and
Discord's
of those
on
things.
Another level, but I think Discord is too complicated for the regular user to come on.
It is.
And I know they're working on it, that they've added Xbox and PS5, but as far as into the mainstream, because right now I don't think I can watch a shared screen on my phone or.
Yeah. It's got quirks, which is why I think it's really cool, because Facebook was really complicated to use in the beginning.
But I wonder, So the reason I post in the group chat is because I like the people in the group chat. So I wonder how much of that will go away if you just start adding random people to, like, let's say a Discord server, or like, you think a lot of people are just posting to various group chats to get a reaction? Because everyone, what you described there, that renting a movie and telling people about it, everyone wants that, right? Like for whatever they do. And I think that's a big reason why I think Netflix and a lot of these companies are starting to do, again, the one episode a week, because they want people to be able to talk about it instead of, hey, I just binged the whole thing. It's like, bro, like, I haven't even started it. I mean, you can't really, but
right. And I think
but we still have that problem because, like, I'm not I watch every week. I'm gonna wait, but that's one person though.
Yeah, and you're getting, and I think with social networking and social media, I think we're starting to get there, where we went from a disconnected world and we found connectivity, and that was awesome. And now we're in an always connected, always on world. So we're starting to get to the point where people are trying to disconnect a little bit, push away,
or maybe in these Discord channels, maybe I need to be a better user of social media the way I want it to be for me, and join these groups and join these conversations. Like,
well, right. Yeah. There's communities for everything. Some
jaded stuff that happened to us maybe growing up through social media that we don't even make the effort anymore. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it could be, but
yeah. So I don't know where it's going. I mean, everyone is using TikTok. I mean, that's most likely going to get banned.
Yeah, I think it's going to settle into purpose-driven, a couple of purpose-driven tools, and then there will be an underlying need for the ability to communicate. Just communicate with each other.
So like a back to chat.
Mm-hmm.
AOL makes a comeback.
It very well could.
I mean, there's a lot more to this, and we're a bunch of 30-year-olds talking about it too.
Yeah, it's true. we didn't even get to talk about the great social network, World of Warcraft.
Nah.
Which basically only thrived because of the need for there to be community, and how MMOs today fail because people don't play them for community anymore.
Which is my point that I just made. I wonder how, like, maybe we're just not using social media right anymore, and we have to retrain our minds to be like, we're doing this because of a community, not because we want to sell our content and monetize it. Not like switch that around. And it's
right.
We want to find a community.
Yeah,
several communities.
We become the new version of the Yahoo Questions forum. People would go ask things on Yahoo.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, that's gonna be it for that. That was great. There's so much there. I enjoyed that.
Cool.